Good morning, everybody. My name is Emily. I am an educator at the Washington State History Museum, and I am talking to you today from my parents' backyard because, like you probably are, I am spending a lot of time at home right now. And so at the History Museum, we have been thinking a lot about how we can do history at home and how we can help all of you do history at home too. And the first way we're going to help you do history at home is we're going to talk to you about artifacts and what you can learn from artifacts. So artifact, that might be a word you've heard before. You can think about what it might mean or where you've heard it. When we at the History Museum talk about artifacts, we are talking about an object that was made by people. So that might mean something really, really old, right? Pieces of pottery from hundreds of years ago, baskets that were woven, old tools people used, but it might also be something pretty new. An artifact is just an object made by people. So I'm sitting on a chair right now talking to you. That chair is an artifact. I'm filming this right now on my iPad. This iPad is an artifact because it's an object that was made by people. And so you probably have artifacts all around you right now, wherever you are. And that means you can do history because artifacts are a really important part of doing history. So that's the other thing we're going to talk about today is how to use all those artifacts that are all around you to do history. So I'm going to practice on an artifact I have with me today. This artifact. This is an object that was made by people. And so I'm going to ask myself 3 questions about this artifact to help me understand more about it and learn from it and do history. And those 3 questions are going to be who made this artifact, who used this artifact, and what did they use it for. Okay, so those are the 3 questions. We'll start with who made this artifact. Now, it's hard to tell for me just from looking at this artifact who might have made it, but I can see that there's a tag. So normally I could read this tag and it would probably give me lots of information about who made this artifact, but as you can see, that tag is blank. I don't think it was always blank. It looks to me like the words on it probably faded. I can see the tag is frayed around the edges. So I don't know who made this, and that's okay. You don't always know all the answers to the questions you ask about an artifact, and actually, I think that's really exciting because it means that I just have more questions, like why is this tag so faded, and how could I find out who made it? What research do I need to do, or what other questions can I ask? Can I ask the people who owned this artifact? Can I research when it was made? Would that help me understand? So having new questions is always a good thing, always exciting for me when you're doing history. So just because I don't know who made this, it doesn't mean I'm not learning. I'm learning all kinds of things. But I do have another question I can ask. I can ask who used this artifact. And to do that, to answer that, one thing I can do is I can apply some prior knowledge, right? I know that this is a stuffed animal. You probably do too. And I know that in my own experience, usually it's kids who use stuffed animals, right? So I can guess that this was used by a kid. And then I can actually apply some more prior knowledge that just I have, which is where this artifact is from. It's from my parents' bookshelf. So I know whose family used this artifact. I know it was my family. And I know, because I was there, that my little brother used this artifact, right? This stuffed rabbit was a gift for him when he was born. And it was his the whole time he was growing up. So I know not just that a kid used this artifact, but which kid used this artifact, right? So the last question I can try to answer by looking at this artifact, I can try to answer, how was this artifact used? Again, I bet you have some prior knowledge about how stuffed animals are normally used, right? You know that stuffed animals, kids normally play with them or cuddle with them or sleep with them in their bed. I had a bear, a stuffed bear that I slept with in my bed. So we have some prior knowledge about how the people around us normally use stuffed animals. And then we can look at this artifact for more clues, right? So one of the things I notice about this artifact is this hole right here in the shoulder. Okay, I can see where it's frayed, and I can see the thread where someone tried to repair this hole. So I know that, number one, someone cared enough about this artifact to try and repair it. I also know that something happened to make it tear. So maybe that's just that it was old, it got used for a long, long time, and it started to wear down. Maybe someone was playing roughly with it, playing with it outside, and it got snagged on a branch or something like that, and it ripped. Maybe there was a pet that liked to chew on stuffed animals and made this little hole. So I don't know how the hole happened, but I can make some guesses. And I know that someone tried to repair it. So that's an interesting clue to how this artifact was used. I also am looking at, let me see if I can show you, the back of this artifact here. And I can feel with my finger the way the texture changes. The texture down low feels like corduroy, but as I come up here, it's smooth, like it's been worn away, right? So I can tell that someone was probably touching this part of this artifact quite a bit. Maybe that's from giving it hugs, right? So I could guess that maybe that's part of how this artifact was used. Or maybe this artifact got dirty and had to go through the laundry, and the laundry machine kind of wore away some of that texture and that color. I can also see on the arms of this artifact that same fading, and there's a little discoloration on this arm and on the back here. So I can tell that maybe this artifact wasn't always 100% clean. So again, maybe someone was playing with it outdoors or playing with it at mealtime and spilled something on it, right? There are so many different explanations, and I don't know which ones are right, but that's okay because I'm coming up with different ideas about how this artifact might have been used based on what I already know and what I can see on this artifact and what I can feel on this artifact too. So those are just some of the things that I can find out from looking at this artifact that was in my house. And like I said, I bet you, wherever you are right now, have all kinds of artifacts around you that you could learn from and do history with. And at the History Museum, we want to help you do that. So we have a field notes page for you that asks the same questions I just asked in this video. And those are questions you can ask yourself about all kinds of artifacts, all kinds of objects made by people that are at your house or your apartment or in your neighborhood, wherever you are. So we encourage you to explore, do history at home, find those artifacts, ask yourself questions, and let us know how it goes. We want to keep doing history at home with you. So good luck out there doing the work of history, and we'll see you next week.